Last episode, we talked about the importance of nurturing the spirit side. Today, I want to talk to you about certainty. When you know, like you know, like you know, but then life, distractions, worry, and self doubt get in the way. So many times we dismiss what we know to be true for ourselves or our lives, or stop believing it when things don't pan out in our imagined time frame. I mean, our lives are flooded with uncertainty. I certainly know what it's like to be drowning in uncertainty, and I'm here to show you how to find your way back to solid, dry ground. Over the next two segments, we'll explore how certainty informs clarity and is an empowering act of self love. In this episode, you'll learn about the what, why, and how of certainty's impact on our personal success. You'll hear about my favorite certainty experience and how it reshaped my views on clarity. And you'll gain insights into the first of two of my secrets for getting clarity on certainty. Do you crave better self-esteem and confidence but feel stuck in a fog of uncertainty? If you're ready to gain clarity on your goals and cut yourself free from the fear, self-doubt, and worry holding you back, this show is for you. I'm Jennifer DeBellis, award-winning author, speaker, and clarity coach. I help women like you restore their inner worlds and get clear on their goals to confidently fulfill their greatest desires. Ready to restore your inner warrior? Then turn off those distractions and tune in to this next episode. So our personal success is shaped and reshaped by how well we live and operate with certainty. When I consider how this topic ties into our self-love walk and personal success, I think about how iron sharpens iron and how the insights of others radically supercharge our quest to find clarity. This is why my number one secret for certainty is to embrace feedback. There are three distinct ways to get clarity on certainty through feedback. You have to build a circle of trust. I build my circle of trust in these three areas. First, from my own intuition and meditation. Second, from God and prayer. And third, from trusted others in peer exchange. All three of these channels should resonate with you. So the clarity of certainty will align with what your mind and spirit already know to be true. So you have to listen to your body. When something starts to feel right and sound right, when someone else is saying it, or when it comes back to you in meditation, or when you're praying on something, this should resonate with you. There will be times when we get new information, but today we're talking about certainty. So when you are looking to confirm, if this path certain for me, we're looking for that to resonate with us. One of my most memorable times of exercising certainty was when I returned to college. You know when you already know something and then it feels like nothing is falling into place? But I swore I had such certainty on this, and this was the path that I was supposed to be taking, and I'm ready to take those steps, and then nothing seems to be falling in place, and that doubt and dismissal starts to creep in. I know you know what I'm talking about. So this was the beginning of one of those seasons for me. And this whole experience that I'm about to share with you really taught me how to be more intentional about leaning into my circle of trust for clarity on my certainty. So I have this really supernatural story about returning back to college. I had been in a season of my life where I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I knew I was capable of so much more and fulfilling such a larger purpose. And I kind of was stagnant in life and really overcommitted to a lot of different volunteering activities in my church and in my community and in the school system. And I was like, my youngest was in school, and I was like, girl, you need to figure some things out here. And I felt like I just didn't have any certainty. I didn't have any clarity. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And I was praying on it, and I wasn't hearing anything, and I was meditating on certain things. And the interesting thing is my mind and my heart kept going back to this one thing. And I kept dismissing it like, no, that can't be it. And it was something that was like a really long standing goal and ambition that I'd had years ago before I started having kids and building my family and building my family business with my husband. And I was like, this can't be right. I was dismissing it. Even though I had all this certainty years ago, I was dismissing it right now. And I thought, I have to have something far more grandiose, far more lucrative with income streams and all this other stuff. And I was like, just dismissing that. So now I go to this group of trusted women. I say, hey, can you guys join me in prayer on this? Can you just, also meditate on this for me? And, I had shared it with other people in my life. And then one day I'm doing the dishes, and all of a sudden I feel my spirit saying, you need to go back to college. You need to go back to college and finish your degree in writing. And I kind of start laughing. And so I go to my computer, and long story short, there's all these really interesting things that are happening. I'm not supposed to be able to access my records, but I am accessing them. And I finally get all my stuff set up. I call the advising office because it won't let me register for this creative writing class that starts the next day. And there's one seat that is available, 7 people on the wait list. I'm very confused about how this is even a thing. And she's like, you can't even be in the system. You haven't been in school in over a decade, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm looking at it right now. So then she pulls up my file. Sure enough, she's like, this is wild. You shouldn't be in there, but you are. And I'm like, can you help me get that seat? Why are there 7 people? And she's like, well, they've all been notified about the opening, so they just haven't gotten in and registered. So she's like, if I can get you registered right now, the seat is yours. So she gets me in, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting school tomorrow. So my husband comes home from work. I tell him about the whole situation, about how I was, doing the dishes, and then, the whole story. And I'm expecting him to have all this resistance. And he's like, no, that totally resonates with my spirit. I really think that you should pursue this. And I'm like, wait a minute, right? So I was expecting that resistance, all that doubt that I had been, tossing around in my mind all day. And then I call one of my close friends, and she says the same thing. She's reminding me about some of these long-standing, dormant kind of dreams and ambitions that I had. She's reminding me about like all the things that I have already been doing in that time frame that I was raising my kids and running my household and my family business out of my home. She's like, you're already kind of doing those things. So it makes sense that this is where you're being pulled. And so all these things are, going on. And it was this pretty incredible experience just to see it all coming together. And that's only the beginning of the story. So now, of course, my transition into college life, it was rough at first, and it was met with a petty welcome committee.
So I just want to hop in here for a moment and mention that I'm now accepting one-on-one coaching clients. So if you're ready to get clarity and big picture vision on your goals, consider booking a session with me today. Find a link to book your session in the show notes below.
So my very first class was this creative writing class, and I had this experience with these 2 young gals in the class. And at the time I wasn't really thinking like, they're probably like 18. And so they were acting really immature, and they were like giggling and like pointing and saying things, and just like, it makes you really self-conscious when people are doing that, especially in like a classroom. You're talking, you're sharing something you just wrote, and then here are these individuals who are like having this side conversation, but they're giggling and laughing and all this private stuff. So I was like, try to remember who you are, Jennifer. Try to remind yourself, like, why you're here. Don't let them get to you. And also, like, be open to growing and expanding on your gifts and your talents. And so I was like, okay, right? Get your head screwed on the right way. And so this happened in like, kind of like in stereo, one class where we were sharing something, and I was already a little bit self-conscious of the feedback from these 2 individuals. And it was always like really like cutting and like, that sucks. I mean, like, I couldn't even believe this kind of stuff was transpiring in a peer workshop. But there's like, oh, I hated that. That wasn't a believable character, all these different things. And so, I'm writing these things down and like, okay, let me try to rethink this. And so one of them says something. We're doing this peer feedback. I took a lot of risks with this short story that I wrote. And I was pretty impressed with it because I could feel like it was going to go somewhere. And I was excited to bring it to our peer workshop to get feedback. And these gals were just tag teaming. And at one point, one of them says, well, not everybody's meant to become a writer. And it was like just this like really like I felt like it was out of pocket because it was like now you're judging my whole entire existence as a writer, not just this little piece. And I was like, I didn't say anything back, and my teacher kind of like wrangled it in, like, no, that's not how we talk to people and whatever else. And after class, she said, hey, Jennifer, can you stay behind for a second? I just got to ask you something. And then I was like, oh, crap. Like, right, did I not handle that right? And then she was like, okay, look, when they all left, she's like, okay, first of all, she's right. Not everybody's meant to become a writer, but you are. And I think those girls are threatened because they realize now sitting in your presence that they might not be cut out for this. And you're challenging them in ways that are good for them also, but don't let them get in your head. She's like, you are absolutely where you need to be. And don't give up on yourself. You have a great potential. And I was just like, wow, right? I needed to hear that. Sometimes we need to hear somebody say something. And not only did I need to hear that because I was starting to get doubtful, but also she was speaking to me with certainty. She was speaking to me in a way, and I trusted her at this point. We were a few weeks into the class. I trusted her feedback. She earned that trust. And so she was kind of in that circle of trust in that moment. And that certainty aligned with what I already knew. So as she was speaking certain things, like the conversation probably was like 5 minutes. I don't remember everything. But as she was speaking, it was resonating. And I was getting those, those tingly little hairs standing up on your body. And then I was recalling, that's right, that's right, that's right. So a lot of times we'll hear somebody saying something, speaking into our lives, speaking into that very area where it is reinforcing our certainty, where we're like, that is absolutely right. That's spot on. I already knew that in my spirit. I already knew that in my mind. And now you're just bringing that back, you're bringing that full circle for me. And so it was one of those moments where I felt like she was bringing those things full circle. And the timing was incredible because I also needed someone to say, you're right where you need to be. Like, you're doing a good job. You're okay. So another interesting thing that happened to me during my time as a student was how my discernment and visions were heightened. So I already have these gifts. And for starters, I know and see things internally with clarity. I mean, I literally see things in my head. And like some people don't understand where I'm coming from there, and that's okay. But I don't want to spend this episode either trying to get you to understand what I mean, but in a real basic way, how this applies to me interacting with other people is that for decades, I have been in the business of helping people. So it's my business to fully understand why people act certain ways or want certain things, or why things are done certain ways and have to be done that way to be successful. And I was pleasantly surprised when I learned something powerful about this why element and how it is informed by certainty that is gleaned from that circle of trust I mentioned. So being a student showed me how to tap into peer circle insights and to drill deeper into those why elements, to see, to learn, and to grow. So I had been operating a lot with some of that knowledge, but some of it was just surface knowledge. It was really going back to school and getting the different, taking the different classes, but also literature, exploring literature and learning about all the literary elements at work. And like that was my full-time job for such a long time, was just like, get to the underlying meaning here. But it taught me all of these invaluable skills and reinforced some of the skills that I already had in order to see into matters. And not just to see what the matter is and how it's functioning, but that why element. Why is it functioning this way? Why does it have to function this way? And all of these practices became a self-love act that got me through some tough college years. But they're also skills that I bring into my work now. So I use it with my coaching students. I use it in classrooms with writing students. I use it in my life. I use it in my circle of trust. I use it everywhere. So from the time I went back to college, even to present day, I continue to take this, fully understanding why and how things work to whole new levels. And I don't get comfortable. I continue to challenge it and take it to another level and to another level. I'll probably do that until I die. But no matter how much insight that we have and how many strategies we bring, there's still one problem. Is that sometimes it's hard to see why and how things work in our own life because we're too close to the action. So we're right up in the action. We can't really see everything. And sometimes we're in action. And so it's very hard to assess and notice and do and plan when we're in action in the middle of it. So this is where the insights of others also become helpful, especially when these speak beyond those what details. This really is one of my secrets to moving from uncertainty to certainty. So sometimes we have the certainty, we already have it inside of us, but worry and doubt, and then just things not panning out in the time that we thought it was going to pan out or the way we envisioned it to pan out, we start to dismiss or dismantle that. And then it becomes foggy. And so it becomes uncertainty. And that once we get into a state of uncertainty, then it steals our peace. And then it steals our drive and our ambition. And sometimes if we're not careful and we don't try to get back on track, try to find our way back to the right path, it can steal our goals and our purpose altogether. And I cannot tell you how many times since that college experience or since that going back to college experience reshaped the way I approach areas of certainty and getting clarity on certainty is, really exercising that circle of trust. And so I carve out time and I treat this circle of trust like a trifold cord. So I have my own meditations. I know what's in my mind. I know what's in my spirit. And so I have that. That's one strand. And then I go to prayer. So I take my meditations and I go to God. And that's that second strand. But if you've ever tried to braid just two things together, it doesn't always stay. It needs that third fold in, that third fiber folded in to hold it together, to make it strong. And so that going outside to those trusted individuals in your life, that circle of trust, is that third rope that we pull in, that third fiber that we pull in. And now when you wind them all together, this can hold the weight of your world. It can hold the weight of your whole entire life because it's designed to do that. You think about, we're creatures not supposed to live in isolation. We're supposed to build community and belong to community. And this is one of the benefits of belonging to community, is being around people who know you like you know yourself, and sometimes know you better than you know yourself. And I'm not saying like you should go to people and they tell you what your certainty is. They tell you, oh, this is your purpose. They might say something that you maybe doesn't resonate with you, or you haven't really fully processed yet, or it's the first time you're hearing it. And then you go, okay, now that came from one chord. Now let me bring it to meditation. Let me bring it to prayer. And let me see, does that resonate with my spirit then? Does that sit with some of the other things that I've already experienced and I already know is supposed to be on the horizon for my purpose and my goals? That comes into testing the spirits. Think about how you can practice this. Once you have a plan kind of outlined, charted out, or you have a plan in place, take the plans and your options and your goals to that circle of trust. Take it to each one of those three areas and then try to figure out, how does it come together? You'll be amazed at how certainty feels and functions when you approach it this way and put these things into practice. Personal success comes from this place of certainty. It's knowing or figuring out, 1, what are we doing each step of the way? 2, how should we do these things each step of the way? 3, why are we doing each step? And of course, there will be a lot of testing of the spirits. You're going to have a lot of trial and error learning. My God, I had so much trial and error learning along my journey. Just in this one area alone, I'm still doing it. I went back to college more than a decade ago, and still some of these things are still not entirely achieved. There are some goals that are just still really far off in the horizon, but I'm experiencing all of these little personal successes and achieving these smaller goals that feed into those larger personal successes and goals. And so you have to think about your life as this larger, big picture situation where there's a lot of stops along the way and a lot of milestone moments along the way as well. So I challenge you to put this to work in your life over the next week. So this number one trick, seek and embrace feedback. Practice this trifold method. Then let it guide you. See where it takes you. Maybe even journal like what some of your progress is, or maybe some of your stumbling blocks or setbacks, or maybe you put something to practice and then you discover something else and you're like, okay, that's a missing piece to the puzzle. And now I have more certainty on exactly how I'm going to move forward in this particular area and why I'm going to do those things. You really will be surprised how certainty will begin to order your steps without you even trying.
Well, girl, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, follow my channel and share it with friends who also want to restore their self-worth and confidence. And if you're ready to get clarity and big picture vision on your goals, consider booking a one-on-one coaching session with me. Find a link in the show notes below to book a session. And as you go through your week, may your empowered spirit, heart, and mind guide you. Catch new episodes every Saturday. Ciao.